Olá pessoal, eu prometo ser extremamente breve, porque eu sei que vocês estão ansiosos aí para ver mais um episódio da série da Mia Kimberly, Mestres e Controladores. Eu vou trazer agora para vocês o episódio 14G1, tá? Faz 6 meses exatamente que eu publiquei o último episódio, o episódio anterior a esse, né? E que infelizmente o YouTube não permitiu que permanecesse aqui na plataforma, então eu fui obrigado a transferir esse episódio lá para o meu canal no Odyssey, né, que é outra plataforma de vídeo, e eu espero agora que pelo menos esse episódio o YouTube permita e vocês possam assistir aí de uma forma mais tranquila aqui no YouTube, ok? Então pessoal, sem mais demoras, vamos assistir agora ao episódio 14G1 da série Mestres Controladores da Mia Kimberly.
Thanks for watching Mia's New Pair of Glasses.com, and welcome to part 14G-1, Selling Your Soul, Satanism, Sacrifices, Cannibalism, and Rituals, in the Masters and Controllers series. The following clip features famous actress, UN Peace Ambassador, and mother of numerous adopted children from all over the world, Angelina Jolie, in a secretly taped 1999 conversation about her participation in rituals.
It's like I would film things like that. I would encourage like everybody, all different types of sexuality. But there is that thing where it's like a lot of people misunderstand me with S&M and they think it's super. And I have to like explain to people how, like, where it's more like you're tied down because you need to like be able to like have something hold you down and keep you still, or like you fight have something down, or like be able to heal once you're beaten, like, or something. It's like it comes from that real place of like, you know, as opposed to being accessories or something. It's like with tattoos, it's like I've always had them. There's like that time where everybody's like, oh, I have tattoos, and after a while, you're like, you can explain them and they can mean something. It's just comes from that real place. Yeah, I don't know. I only saw that film she brought over that night. People were like dark or like that kind of, you know, but it's a great thing to be able to like see everybody's sex, like just sexuality. But it's so weird when you just. I had like the most amazing compromising pictures of you. I had like the most amazing compromising pictures of you. I had like the most amazing compromising pictures of you.
Plan 3 total revolutions. 1, 2, 3. Ouch!
Like the twisting of a nipple or something?
Yeah, 3 full times.
I only saw that one she brought over that night though.
And then dripping candle wax.
My snake, I had to kill it.
Now it's time to get into the topics that are pretty dark and may cause some sleepless nights. But it's necessary that we discuss these topics because it absolutely encompasses the reality of the world we live in. So the big question is, are these things done? The answer is yes. But just because these things are done doesn't mean it's done for the reasons of holding some magical, mystical power. We live in a physical world, and we are all bound by the same physical laws. What was perceived as magic, miracles, or mystical powers by many since the origin of our plane has only ever been technology. When people could not explain things that could be done, they attributed it to magic or miracles. But just because you cannot explain it doesn't mean it is. Everything unexplainable comes from technology. And everything that was unexplainable to people that lived in a world without technology during the EMCO was attributed to God and supernatural powers. Before I go into this topic, I need to make something clear. The one thing that people seem to hate above all else is someone challenging their belief systems. But this site was not created to support belief systems. It is to help people know what to do to survive the MCO and to show how we have been controlled by belief systems. Most importantly, why those belief systems have been instilled in us, by whom, and to what benefit. Belief systems are not truth, but the masters and controllers know that we have a tough time existing without them, so they provide them for us. Beliefs cannot possibly be proven. That is why they are such a great tool used against us. If you want a place to discuss belief systems, you want to discuss other people's beliefs, or how to control where you go in the afterlife, this is not the place. There are plenty of other avenues to do just that. This site is to uncover what we can know about this life, this world, and what we should do here and in the near future that awaits us. Of course, I have my own beliefs. Everybody does. But I do not push them here or anywhere else. They are my own personal beliefs that I keep private between Brian and I, based on what I know to be true. Based on what I know to be true. If I were to try and influence anyone's belief systems with things I could not prove, I would be exactly the same as the controllers. If I am more concerned with what other people believe, I am neglecting where the focus should be, on me. If you think that you may be offended by my unveiling the reasons these belief systems are used because it may contradict one of your own that you are unwilling to let go of, you may not want to watch this series any further. The top-level controllers are not the Illuminati, it's not the Freemasons, Skull and Bones, it's not the Jewish, the Catholic Pope, the royal family, or the Rothschilds. They are just scapegoats. Blaming these organizations are just diversions to distract from the real controllers who work in the shadows. The classic magic trick, look over here so you miss what's going on over there, while the members recruited believe what each group stands for. The heads of different groups play a role. They are not the ones pulling the strings. If you've watched anything that points a finger at a specific group or organization, you can guarantee it's not them. The blood is the highway to bring all nutrients, energy, and oxygen throughout the body. It is newly created energy sent throughout the body to all the organs, muscles, bones, and tissues. It is the most nutritious part of any body. The liver is the most nutritious organ of a body because its main job is to filter the blood coming from the digestive tract. When we need to know the truth, we look to nature for answers. The liver is the first thing that carnivores eat, as well as the heart. Carnivores lap up blood of their kills, and they have an order to what they eat first, according to what their body instinctually knows has the most nutrition. These are the most nutritious organs to eat. Carnivores always eat the fat and the meat last, only eating the meat if they have a low food supply, because fat is high in energy compared to meat. Bears will eat the skin, the eggs, the brain, and the fat from salmon, but they will not eat the meat at all if they have an abundant supply of fish. The meat is the least nutritious part of any body. The reason meat is the least nutritious is because the muscle uses most of the energy that gets absorbed for movement. Therefore, the energy in meat is depleted. Now we look to what food we have available to us, the slaves. What part of animals do we get from the store? The meat, where the blood has been totally drained, called bloodletting. Why? because the master gets the best part of the meal and only the scraps are given to the dogs. The masters and controllers keep the prime parts for themselves. The drinking of blood and eating of organs is used by the masters and controllers for nutrition, to make sure they live healthier and longer lives.
In your world, people are used to fighting for resources, like oil or minerals or land. But when you have access to the vastness of space, you realize there's only one resource worth fighting over. Even killing for. More time. Time is the single most precious commodity in the universe.
What is that?
It has many names. Regenex, Resal, Nectar. There are various levels of usefulness and quality, but this is the most pure and most valuable solution made by the House of Brassix.
Kalik came out of a bath.
Naturally, my sister didn't explain what it is or where it comes from. It comes from people. Each unit is refined from approximately 100 human beings.
What?
Your planet is a farm, Jupiter. There are thousands of planets like yours set up by families like mine to supply an ever-increasing demand for more time.
You say you killed 100 people to make this?
Not me, but yes, someone did. Not unlike butchering a herd of cattle.
Oh my God.
It's all right. It's all right.
Life is an act of consumption, Jupiter. To live is to consume. Now, the human beings on your planet are merely a resource, waiting to be converted into capital. And this entire enterprise is just a small part in a vast and beautiful machine defined by evolution, designed to a single purpose.
Remember, they need to keep us weak and stupid. All our social norms about food have come from them, and we have been taught to eat in a way that is least healthy for long lives. Now, just to be clear, I am not telling you to go drink blood and eat hearts. Conditioning is conditioning, and it runs deep. I am simply telling you what they do and why. Now you know why they constantly push blood drives, why they push the need for so much blood, and why so much blood is requested to be donated to nonprofits like the Red Cross. You think all that blood is for patients who need transfusions? Do you know how much blood they acquire on a regular basis? It ain't all for the patients in need. They keep the majority of the blood for themselves. So while the controllers and the media would have you believe that drinking of blood is done for satanic purposes, to conjure evil spirits and worship the devil, that is not the case at all. They do it for the best source of nutrition, hydration, and oxygenation as food and liquid, to live as long as possible. When you understand that we are the cattle, the livestock, the sheep for the masters, you will start to understand why things are done.
You've been taught that the birthplace of the human race is Earth, but it's not.
Do you know what this will do to people when they find out the truth?
I don't think that most people would want to know the truth.
I do.
Your planet was seeded by a brass axe industry.
I will harvest that planet tomorrow.
Have you ever seen a harvest?
Never. But I've heard they feel no pain.
What is the most tender part of all cow meat? Veal. Veal comes from baby calves. Calves raised for veal are forced to spend their short lives in individual pens that are no more than 6 by 7 feet. These pens are designed to prohibit exercise and normal muscle growth in order to produce tender, gourmet veal. The calves are fed a milk substitute that is purposely low in iron so that they would become anemic and their flesh will stay pale. It is the same with any being that would consume a human. Therefore, babies are the first choice, whether it is a master consuming a person or the controllers practicing cannibalism. What are just some of the reasons that they practice cannibalism? Number 1, monkey see, monkey do. The controllers mimic the gods, and the gods or masters would eat their flock. It is a form of worship. Number 2, they entrap people selling their soul in these types of activities to use as blackmail to hold them to their contract. Number 3, if they can get someone to eat a baby, then they can trust them to do anything that is required. Number 4, some groups believe they can actually trigger the MCO through enough deplorable acts that they think will offend God. Another reason they practice cannibalism, rituals, sodomy, torture, and drinking blood, and many other atrocious acts. Remember though, just because some may believe that doesn't make it true, nor does it mean it actually works. We will discuss this further when we get to part 2. And number 5, they know eventually the only way they will survive if they run out of food is by eating humans. They have to know their members chosen to go into the bunkers will be able to do this when the time comes. When creating an abundant food source, farmers need to make pigs fat by feeding them slop. They don't need the pigs to live long, healthy lives. They need them fat to provide more meat. This is the real reason that the controllers have pushed such unhealthy food available all over the world via fast food, and the real reason obesity has become such a problem. It is in preparation for the food source they know they will need. If you are a farmer and there is no more food supply, the last thing you're going to eat is the horse, because it has multiple functions and is of most value to the farmer. An animal like a rabbit, pig, or sheep that have limited functions will be eaten first. But if and when it gets bad enough, eventually the farmer will eat the dog and the horses. Since humans can do the most amount of functions for the controllers, they will be eaten last when the time comes. We will soon be at war for survival. Another reason obesity is created is to make people weak. Less opposition for the controllers. On the other end of the spectrum, veganism has been pushed because it encourages a weak body. Less competition for the controllers. When a group goes to war with another group, a common tactic is to try wearing down the opponents by using things like a war of attrition. An example is in a siege. The attacking army will surround a city or castle to prevent food and supplies from getting in. The defenders will eventually give up because they don't have the food or energy to fight any longer. Veganism also causes a reduction in sex drive and reproductive abilities because the body lacks what is necessary for hormone production and sperm and egg release. It is a non-vital bodily function, so the body sends the available energy to vital bodily functions first. This has been a tool that has been used for population control. I want to leave you with one important fact before I close this video, is that to the controllers and the masters, you are not looked at as equal. You are looked at as a commodity and a food source. The best analogy is another existing system in nature, scarily similar to our own. This is ants' cultivation of aphids. The masters are the ants, and we are the aphids, including the controllers. No matter how high up the controllers get on the pyramid, they will never be ants. They will always be aphids.
On this episode of Stories from Nature, we explore the mystery of how ants farm and milk aphids. Never in 1,000 years would you expect ants to be devious masterminds of nature that have turned the odds of survival in their favor. Every spring, usually when weather is cool and wet, aphids, the bane of every gardener, show up on plants like kale, Swiss chard, and Brussels sprouts. They find the juiciest specimen they can find, build a colony, and go to town sucking the juice from the plant. Luckily, this colony aspect ends up with a few of the gardener's plants being wasted and not the whole crop. If the plant becomes overpopulated with aphids, like you can see here, they'll develop and grow wings and fly over to a new plant and start a new colony, but the ants have a different idea. These clever little characters who are able to lift up to 5,000 times their own body weight have a different special ability, not their super strength, which is used in the domination of the aphids. Never would you expect such a bizarre and devious thing going on in your garden, but ants use chemicals on their feet to tranquilize and subdue aphids, which allows them to harvest them for food. New research shows the chemicals in ants' footprints will not only tranquilize but inhibit the ability for aphids to regrow their wings. Now, we already knew that ants use the chemicals on their feet to mark their territory, but ants will also mark leaves or a stalk of a plant. And as the aphids land on it, they will become tranquilized, to which the ant will march over and clip their wings, preventing their escape. The aphids, almost acting zombie-like, will get to work sucking juice from the kale, filling their body with honeydew. This honeydew is then excreted by the aphid when the ant strokes the back of the aphid, to which the drop will appear. Quite frankly, this looks like it's coming out of the butt of the aphid. Nature is weird. After reviewing the footage closely, the ants will either drink the sap directly or collect it on their front appendages and later drink it off their arms. The honeydew aphids produce will become the primary source of food for the ants, with the odd whole aphid thrown in there as a meal to mix it up. It's possible the aphids are allowing this or are okay with being under the ants' spell, as the ants will fight ladybugs that try to eat the aphids. Ants will move them around to the best plants to provide the most amount of honeydew, and will move them to shelter when it rains, potentially into their own nests. This honeydew is liquid gold for the ants. On closer inspection, it appears the ants battle each other briefly for dominance of who gets first dibs of the dew, with the other ants relying on the scraps. The ants spend all day going from one aphid to the next, drinking up the dew, or tending to their army of aphids. Aphids are born pregnant, so when a new baby pops out, the ant will get them into place so their new worker can start drinking and they can milk their dew. Daily rounds of clipping wings are done, and the cycle starts all over. Have you heard of something in nature as bizarre as this?
That's all I have for you guys today. Everybody stay safe, be good to one another, sleep well, and God bless.